Imagine stealing $500 million and just never getting caught. It really sounds like something out of a movie, right? But this is the true story of the biggest, most mind-boggling art heist in history. And it all starts here.
Yeah, you heard that right. $500 million. That's the rough value of the art that just vanished in one single night from Boston's Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. Gone.
And the way it happened is what's truly unbelievable. We're talking 13 priceless works of art, just lifted right off the walls. But here's the kicker. No alarms went off, and there were no witnesses to the actual crime.
So that is the million-dollar question. Well, the $500 million question. How on earth did two guys who basically appeared out of thin air pull off the perfect crime? To even begin to understand it, we have to go inside the museum itself.
So our story really kicks off inside one of the most unique museums you'll ever see. The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum isn't your typical gallery. It was actually designed by its founder, a super passionate art collector, to feel like you're stepping into a Venetian palace right in the middle of Boston.
And this is absolutely crucial. Isabella's will was incredibly strict about this. Nothing, and I mean nothing, could be moved, sold, or even shifted an inch. This one rule is the reason why, even today, you can walk in there and see empty frames hanging on the walls. A totally haunting reminder of what was stolen.
Okay, let's go to the night it all went down. March 18th, 1990. The city of Boston was just winding down from its huge St. Patrick's Day parties. You know, the streets were getting quiet and the museum was locked up for the night.
So at 1:24 in the morning, two men dressed up as Boston police officers buzz the security entrance. They tell the guard they're there for a disturbance call. Now, against every rule in the book, the guard lets them in. That, right there, was the fatal mistake. Just moments later, the museum guards are overpowered, handcuffed, and shoved down into the basement. And just like that, the thieves had the entire museum all to themselves.
So, picture this. The thieves have total control. There are no alarms, nobody to stop them. What was their next move? You might be surprised.
They spent 81 minutes inside. Just let that sink in for a second. Over an hour and 20 minutes. And this was not some frantic smash and grab job. No, they were calm. They were methodical. And honestly, it's chilling how unhurried they were. And their method? It was brutally simple. No alarms went off because they didn't break any glass. They just walked through these silent, beautiful halls, went right up to these world-famous masterpieces, and quietly sliced the canvases right out of their frames.
So what did they actually walk away with during those 81 minutes? I mean, the list is just staggering. These weren't just pretty pictures. They were irreplaceable pieces of our shared culture.
13 items were stolen in total. The headliners are just breathtaking. They grabbed Rembrandt's only known seascape, The Storm on the Sea of Galilee. They took The Concert by Vermeer. That's one of only 34 of his paintings that we even know exist. And on top of that, another Rembrandt, some sketches by Degas, and even an ancient Chinese beaker and a Napoleonic finial.
To really put this into perspective, just that one painting, that Rembrandt seascape, is valued today at well over $100 million. The scale of this loss is almost impossible to wrap your head around. So the thieves have vanished into the night with $500 million worth of art. The real guards are tied up in the basement. How in the world did anyone finally figure out what happened?
Well, the next morning, when the next shift of guards showed up, they couldn't get inside, so they called the police, who finally entered the museum to find this completely chilling scene. The two guards, still tied up, and upstairs, just those ghostly, empty frames hanging on the walls.
And this brings us to the central puzzle that has just baffled the FBI for decades. See, on one hand, these thieves seemed like total amateurs. They crudely cut the canvases, damaging them, and they even ignored more valuable art that was hanging right nearby. But on the other hand, they were absolute professionals. They bypassed a really sophisticated alarm system and left behind zero fingerprints, no DNA, no forensic evidence at all. It's a complete contradiction.
So it all boils down to this one question that investigators are still asking today. Were these guys just clumsy crooks who got incredibly lucky? Or were they brilliant masterminds who just happened to make a few mistakes?
Well, the biggest theory has always pointed toward organized crime. For years, investigators have suspected that a local crime family might have ordered the heist, maybe planning to use the art as some kind of get-out-of-jail-free card. Get this. Even with a $10 million reward from the FBI, one of the largest rewards ever offered,
Not a single piece has ever been found. No arrests, no credible tips, nothing. The trail just went completely cold.
And so, more than 30 years later, we're left with this enduring legacy of an impossible crime and all these profound questions that are still just hanging in the air.
You know, here's maybe the weirdest part of this whole thing. The thieves have never tried to sell the art on the black market. And why not? Well, it's simple. You can't. These paintings are some of the most famous in the world. Trying to sell them would be like trying to sell the Mona Lisa. It's a dead end, which suggests maybe this was never really about the money to begin with.
And so, because of Isabella's will, the museum just waits. Those empty frames are still hanging on the walls, not just as a memorial to this incredible loss, but as placeholders, a real symbol of hope that one day the masterpieces will come home.
Which really leads you to a final, pretty chilling thought. What if the art was never destroyed? What if, right now, all of it is sitting in some private collection, some climate-controlled vault, completely hidden from the world, seen only by one or two people?
For over 3 decades, the frames have been empty, the questions have no answers, and the greatest art heist in history remains utterly and completely unsolved.